This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by former world champion Darren Barker over Zoom. Darren, always a pleasure. The weekend is almost upon us, and how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm well, mate. I'm a little. Well, I say I'm a little. My legs are in agony and my feet, probably the worst they've ever been, ever. I had done the Three Peaks challenge for charity Wednesday and Thursday, and just before I started, I thought, do you know what? I'm gonna do it in sliders. But I don't reckon anyone's done it in sliders. And I managed to do all three of them in under 24 hours. But I'm in agony. I'm in agony.
I mean, rather you than me, especially doing that in sliders. What do the three peaks fall under? Which ones would they be?
Ben Nevis, Scarfell Pike, and Snowdon. But literally, just before all the lads were ledge, Aaron Ramsey done it. There was 11 of us, and they had all the gear. They all looked the part. They all looked like they'd been up a couple of mountains before, though I don't think they did. But they had all the stuff. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do it in sliders. So literally 5 minutes before it started, I thought, here we go. The Kurt Geiger's come on, which I've already had for 2 years as well. And I just ploughed up the mountain. But I stubbed my toe a couple of times on some rocks, trodden a lot. And then the last mountain, we got to the top of Snowdon, me and this other fella, and we had an hour to get down. And we said, look, we can do this, you know. So we ran the whole way down. Yes, I ran with my dodgy hips in sliders the whole way down. I'm not giving it the big. It's one of the. I'm proud of myself, you know. Like it was that hard. It was that hard, but it just shows you don't lose your mindset. I'm not fit. I've done no training for it at all, none. But that mindset remains the same. It's crazy, but yeah, buzzing. Now I'm in the garden putting fucking fences up. No rest.
I was about to say rest for the wicked, but here we
Yeah.
are. It's a quiet week in the UK boxing schedule. No show on, so must make a change.
Yeah, yeah. When we go into fight week next week, so it's nice to have a few days, spend it with the family. But I miss it. I love it. I live and breathe it, as you know. You know, it's my well, it's my passion aside from my family. Do you know what I mean? Like, family first and all that. But I love boxing. So when there ain't UK shows, I'm a little.
We'll,
I
we'll
have to
make
get, have to get the
we'll,
kids another ice cream.
we'll make sure that the missus doesn't hear that one, Darren. Obviously, we go into next week, Dalton Smith and Sam Maxwell. I just want to get your thoughts on this fight. Going into it, a lot of people expect to see a dominant display from Dalton. Is it as straightforward as what most people are thinking of overlooking
Nah,
Sam?
I don't think so. And Maxwell also comes into this fight a champion, a very good fighter, and a fighter who's bringing a lot of confidence into the fight. Kind of though he will be, a lot of people feel this is Dalton Smith's fight to lose. You go in there with a no lose situation, so the pressure's off for Maxwell when he can go in there and just do his thing. There have, according to some, been some subpar performances from Dalton Smith. Started so well, then there was a couple where you think, is he the real deal or not? But I'm telling you now, I've got no doubt about it. I think he's so talented. I really do. I think he's got a bit of everything, and I think Sam Maxwell, though a very good fighter himself, I've got a lot of time for him. He's a real good lad, but I think this is a fight in which Dalton Smith can really showcase what he's all about, and get those, if there are any, some of the naysayers to say, do you know what, got that one wrong. He's special. So looking forward to that one.
That was going to be the next question. You mentioned the naysayers, those who have maybe doubted him on the back of his last couple of performances. How does he go about trying to prove them wrong? Does he need to basically get a stoppage victory that people were
Look,
expecting his previous?
all the public, and the journalists or whatever, they can say whatever they want. The most important thing for a boxer is to win, and he does that. I think in order for him to look good, it's about forgetting everybody else. Don't worry about what anyone's saying. Go out there and do your thing, express yourself, and I think if he can do that on, as well as I know, hello boy, as well as he can do it, he will look good. I told you he'd make an appearance. But yeah, so I would just to take away any kind of pressure there might be, just go out there and do your thing. Go out there and don't force it. Don't try too hard. I think being a former fighter, I always found when I just went about my business without having to force it, just letting it flow, then the stoppages came. Because when you're trying to force it, you're loading up a little bit, you're telegraphing your shots, you're just making it a little easy for your opponents. I think just, bag the early rounds and then go through the gears.
Just moving away from Dalton, obviously there's always a number of topics to touch on within the sporting world. Darren, we're waiting to see whatever land lies with Conor and Chris. From your understanding, from obviously being in around that gym, do you think we will see that fight next?
I think well, look, the fight hasn't gone away, has it? So I think it will. And you say what you want about Conor or Chris. I guarantee everyone tunes in. I guarantee that. So there's your answer, I guess. I mean, whether you think it should happen or it shouldn't, or whether you're a fan of Evo or you're not, people are going to watch it without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, I'll be buzzing. I'll be looking forward to it. That energy before the first bell, regardless of recent events, the history there with the families, the obvious rather needle between the two. Yeah, whoever's out there saying more is that I guarantee they watch it. I guarantee they watch it. So yeah, be interesting to see what happens. I think it will happen.
If it does go ahead, despite Junior's defeat to Liam Smith and how emphatic of a defeat that was, would you say that a Ben Eubank Jr. fight would still arguably be one of, if not the biggest, certainly in the UK, fight that DAZN have put together?
Yeah, look, I think this is a different fight altogether because of the history that the dads had. It's like a generational, I think I heard, fight. Well, this will captivate the imagination of the fans of Senior and, not both Nigel and Chris. I'm not very good with numbers, what this will do, what that will do. But like I say, whether you believe this fight should happen or not, you're gonna watch it. I absolutely guarantee it. You can say all you want, but you will watch it. Recent results, the one you mentioned there, Liam Smith and Chris Eubank Jr. I don't think it really matters. I don't, there's just that history, and they don't like each other. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens.
One thing I'm interested to get your thoughts on, Darren, is beyond the junior fight, what do you actually see as being the career progression for Conor? He's fought at welterweight, he's seen as a welterweight. Granted, he's had a year out of ring now. You don't know if he might want to move up naturally and look to push towards world honours at another weight, but where does he go beyond this? Because at the minute, we're seeing the likes of a Manny Pacquiao fight, Adrian Broner being linked, amongst others. Does he start to map back a way towards a world title, or is it just chasing?
I don't know. He's a big name, Conor. He's a big name, isn't he? He's a big draw. So there's options for him. Does he chase the big money fights? You got to remember he's got a family now, and this is a business. So does he go down that road, or does he have dreams and aspirations of being a world champion? I'm sure he does. I think he'd love to emulate what his dad done. And look, I was never that fortunate to be able to have it, and lots of fighters out there don't. But he's got options. He's got those options. So he'll have to do what's right for him, and what gives him more of a buzz going down the road of trying to get eliminators. And it's a long old slog trying to win a world title. Or do you go in with some of these legends and cash out, if you like? It must be exciting for Conor and the team, knowing that there's options there, and they're big options, they're exciting options that could take him around the world. Well, we'll have to take him around the world, I guess, but will also generate big money. And there's still the dream, if he chooses to win titles. So yeah, we'll have to see it play out. I've not actually spoken to him, but Tony knows his man, he knows his boxing inside out, and he's in safe hands, Conor.
One thing we saw recently was after Josh Taylor's defeat to Teofimo Lopez, him and Conor Benn had a few words exchanged over Instagram. Would you have any interest in seeing that? Josh has said he's going to move up to 147.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it would. I think Connor's that draw, and he's a big draw. I think I think he generates a lot of money whoever he fights for whoever he fights. So I'm sure Taylor would be up for that fight. Um, I do think, and this is I've not spoken to anyone, but I just think that the Eubank Jr fight hasn't gone away, and for that reason, I think that will happen.
But just looking towards the future, I mean, let's say after a junior fight, whether it be the end of the year or next year at some point, if a Josh Taylor fight presented itself, still question marks as to how he do up at 147. But how would you fancy Conor in against somebody like Josh, a former undisputed champion who's achieved a great deal and is an unbelievable?
It would all for me. It would. How would Taylor fare? I know he really struggled down a weight. Would he be strong enough? He's a very good fighter, very good fighter, exceptional fighter. And would I'm sorry, I thought my boy went to sleep. He's listening to me. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I always struggle, and it's hard to give a verdict when you're talking about fighters going up and down weights because they're fighting the more naturally bigger guy. Obviously, he's well scored. He's got that great pedigree, as Taylor. So it's interesting. It's interesting, and that's for me is why I would watch it because there's a lot of questions there. Would Conor be too ferocious? Will Taylor be too skilled? What ultimately would come out on top if they was to fight? So yeah, anytime there's an intriguing fight like that, I'm in.
What did you make of Josh's performance against Teofimo?
If I'm honest, I've not watched it or I've only seen the highlights. Was it a weight issue? What was the issue there? It didn't seem like he got going, but I feel bad because, and I don't want to say anything away from Lopez. So yeah, maybe it is important that he comes up a weight and we may see the best of him.
We saw Regis Prograis defeat Zorrilla this past weekend. A lot of people disappointed with that performance. Did you catch him?
Yeah, look, he's better than that. You can never take anything away from the opponent. That's their big opportunity. They give 110%. Sometimes you can be guilty of dropping down levels. Not that there's any issue dropping down to Zorrilla's level because he's a very good fighter, but he's still an exceptional fighter. That's one of the best fights I was fortunate to be at and commentate on live. Prograis Taylor, that was exceptional. What a fight! And there's some big fights for him in the division for sure. But yeah, I'm a fan. I think he's a good fighter. I see recently Eddie say about Haney would be the favourite, and I'd make him right there after that performance. You probably would favour Haney, but it's a brilliant fight and a fight I'd like to see.
Just going back to your old gym, John Ryder waiting in the wings for an update as to what's next in his career. He's spoken about Golovkin. I've seen Jaime Munguia mentioned now. Edgar Berlanga's been mentioned if he was to come for Jason Quigley on Saturday night. What do you think it could be
Love
next?
it. I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing for John. Like, what's a geezer? He's such a good bloke, and I'm glad he's getting these opportunities. But I don't, he goes into these fights now with strong belief that he can win all of these, and he can win a world title, no doubt. I like the Munguia fight. I think talk about fighters boxing below par. I think he's one that certainly last couple, and I don't say again nothing away from the opponents. Derevchenko, but what a fighter! Very good fighter. So look, I just want to see John in these big fights. Big supporter John. He's one of my favourites out there in a minute, if not my favourite. So yeah, buzzing for him, buzzing.
Berlanga Quigley this weekend, Darren. Obviously Edgar's matchroom debut. Jason Quigley obviously had that recent defeat to Demetrius Andrade where he stopped very early on. What do you expect to see though on Saturday?
Well, Quigley says he comes into this with a lot more experience now, big levels. was disappointed in his defeat, but feels he's learned a lot from that, and he can take confidence. Though he got beaten, he can take confidence from that, having fought at that level. And he feels like, I genuinely, haven't spoke to him at the Katie Taylor fight, he genuinely believes he's gonna rip the script up and get the job done. He feels he's just got too much. Berlanga, bit of a wrecking ball, and you're gonna have to be on your A game to beat him. But look, most are beatable, and I would have seen funnier things if Quigley was to win it. Do you know what I mean? There's been some royal turn ups for the books in the past, but I wouldn't see this as one. Berlanga goes in big favourite, obviously, but yeah, I'll tune in for that.
We saw
my mate Chris Lloyd's out there, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He's abandoned, yeah.
Yeah, he's abandoned me. I'm happy for him now. I'm buzzing. He always wanted to do some stage side shows, Chris. We've done AJ Ruiz, the build-up shows anyway, so I'm buzzing for him. Top lad, Chris. He's a student of this game, learning all the time, and he's brilliant at what he does.
He certainly is. He's fantastic at his job, and he's a great man. That Darren. Just moving forwards, we saw the news yesterday. Canelo. Don't know if you're still there or not. You're still, yeah.
I'm in, mate.
Canelo signing a deal with PBC. A lot of reports that it's going to be a 3-fight deal. Just your thoughts on that? The names being mentioned are Charlo, Andrade, Benavidez. Just your thoughts on that.
I don't really know. Like, yeah, is that definitely happening? I'm not too sure. I'd like to see him in with Charlo. Whoever Canelo fights is going to be a big fight. It don't matter, does it? Who it is? The fighter has to do what's right for them. They're the one in the ring and putting their life on the line every time they fight. So if that is the decision that he's made, then so be it. If it's Charlo, then great. I'm up for that. Again, talking about a fighter that has options similar to Conor is Canelo. You go in any weight division you want, it's a big fight. You fight with anyone you want, it's a big fight. Whoever you fight is going to generate millions. So, I mean, what position he's in, and he's the big one of, if not the biggest name out there. So he gets to do what he wants.
Do you think he's avoided the Dimitri Bivol fight?
Do I think he's avoiding it?
Yeah, the rematch.
No, I think I would say he's desperate for it, if I'm honest. Whether it happens now, is he trying to get timing right? I think timing, if he was ever to have a chance, which I don't think he does, I don't think he beats Bivol. Whether it be a super middle or light heavy, I don't think he beats him. I would say you'd have to fight him now. I don't like. He's only going to get better. Bivol, and Canelo certainly is. He's. I wouldn't say necessarily his best days have passed him, but perhaps his best performances are. So I wouldn't say he's avoiding it. I don't. But I wouldn't hang about too long if you were to fight him.
Speaking to Eddie yesterday, sorry, Darren. Speaking to Eddie yesterday, he mentioned that there's talks ongoing for Dimitri Bivol versus Azeez. Certainly one which caught the eye of a few people. Just your thoughts on a potential bout there.
Love Azeez. I think everyone says this, but he's a proper throwback, isn't he? Just reminds me of Marvin Hagler with the velvet shorts and quality, no nonsense attitude, but he can fight. I'm telling you, he's a very good fighter. Am I right in thinking? I've been out of action for a little bit the last few days, but Buatsi and Azeez, is that right?
So there were rumours that fight was agreed, and since then it seems to be that's not the case. And we've tried to trace it ourselves, and we haven't had nothing official confirmed. But from what we're hearing as well, it's not the case as well.
Yeah, well, the two fights there, Buatsi, Azeez, Bivol. I'm all for those, and I'd make Bivol a heavy favourite against Azeez, but I'd love to see Azeez get his shot and prove me wrong. Because, like I say, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of him.
The other world champion in the division, Beterbiev, came face to face with Callum Smith last night.
Buzzing for this fight,
and it's one of them which everyone's talking about. Is the timing right? Is the timing right? Will Callum dethrone Beterbiev?
Do you know what? I'm going to say he will. He has looked, and it sounds silly this because he gets the job done, but he has looked a little vulnerable, hasn't he? Against Callum Johnson and against Yard, Beterbiev, but he gets the job done. I mean, he's up there, isn't he? Pound for pound, biggest puncher in boxing, him, Inoue, whoever. But I just feel Callum Smith a light heavy. He's strong, and that extra bit of weight, not having to lose and to carry that extra bit of weight, makes a big difference when you're coming to the end of your career. He's well scored, Callum. Ticks every boxes really, as far as experience, power, know-how is all concerned. And yeah, do you know what? I'm gonna go with Callum Smith. The Brit in me and the fan of the Smith family is coming out of me, and I'm gonna go Callum Smith.
You've just mentioned Inoue there, Darren. I don't think enough people have thought about how fantastic a week of boxing is lined up of that July 29th, because you have Inoue Fulton during the week, or Fulton Inoue, and then on the weekend, Spence-Crawford.
Jeez. Brilliant. It's I'm all about it. Yeah, Inoue for me there in a tougher fight than some make think, and I say that people in the game know how good Fulton is, but you know it's easy to say, oh, Inoue. If he was to destroy him, Inoue, he goes pound for pound number one for me. And then Spence Crawford. I mean, it's probably the biggest fight out there. You know, the heavyweight division is always going to be the market division. It's always going to generate the big fights. But for a fan, yeah, I'm going that fight. I think that fight is gigantic, and I favour Crawford. I mean, I just think he's got that little bit extra. But talk about Inoue beating Fulton. If he was to destroy him, I think if Crawford destroys Spence, then he reigns supreme in pound for pound number one. So, yeah, like you said there, just it's getting good boxing. Some good fights. Some good fights being made. I hope it continues.
I was about to say, Darren, I think everybody does. And another fight which got announced yesterday, Bam Rodriguez and Sonny Edwards.
Hey. Yeah. What a fight. I hope his jaw, it must be recovering well. Rodriguez. Yeah, what a fight. What a fight that is. And I think it's the fight. It's the fight in the flyweight division. I think obviously Julio Cesar Martinez would say otherwise. But I think as far as boxing ability, talent, and the rest is concerned, I think it's those two. I'm just trying to think who I fancy in that one. It's a good fight. It's a really good fight. I'm probably going to go Sonny Edwards there. I'm going to go Sonny Edwards because he's just a nightmare. He's just an absolute nightmare. What he said in the last one, it's so good, it's boring or something, you know, from Sonny. It almost is like that a little bit. You know, I appreciate how skillful he is, so I never find Sonny boring. But he's just one thing I will say with Sonny in that last fight, Campos, when he lets his hands go in 4, 5, 6 punch combinations, I mean, he's a joy to watch. I mean, he's so relaxed, it's effortless the way he lets his combinations go. So yeah, like that's brilliant. I would like to get out there. I've got my young Jesus Martinez. I'll hopefully get him on the bill. So yeah, I'd like to think I'm at that fight.
Is that just you looking for an excuse to travel out?
100%.
Darren, just a couple more quick things before I'll wrap this up. Joshua White doesn't seem to be happening. We've seen Dillian come out saying he hasn't turned down any offer and what have you. Don't know where it lands, but as far as Eddie was aware, as of yesterday, we won't see Joshua White. So looking at Anthony Joshua, where does he go if he does end up fighting Deontay Wilder in December? What fight prepares him for that?
Did I see Caballero
Yeah.
as a potential opponent? Well, something like that. People will say, "Oh, what's the point?" No, but you want to be on it. Another slated scheduled 12 rounder, if it was to go that way, is very important before you go into a fight with Deontay Wilder. I mean, unless you're Tyson Fury, of course. But what he done was special against Wilder. But yeah, if I was part of Team AJ, I'd want another fight. I'd want to get in there, and ideally, I think going into that Deontay Wilder fight, you'd want to get a stoppage. I think that's probably all that's missing, just to get that confidence flowing a little bit more. And you get that by destroying an opponent. So I think, yeah, regardless of the opponent, it's a shame it's not White. But yeah, AJ should definitely fight again in August before fighting Wilder.
Darren, just a final topic. We saw yesterday that the IOC derecognised AIBA, so they will not be involved with the Olympics moving forward. So I just want to get your thoughts on that as a former amateur.
Right, so I see that on Sports News this morning, and I only caught the end. So sorry, can you say that again?
So the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, have derecognised AIBA, meaning that they won't have any involvement with Olympics moving forwards. So in 2020, in 2024, the Olympics, boxing will be in the Olympics, but IOC will kind of run it and take charge of it. And from what's come out so far in 2028, it will go ahead as well, but there'll be a different organisation controlling matters then.
I mean, let's say about that then. If it's AIBA, that's the reason why the amateur game has been corrupt, because I think it's corruption that has been the issue in the amateur game. Then so be it. I don't really know what to say or comment on that. I'm deadly honest. Whatever's correct or right for the future of this game and the amateur game. The amateur game was a big part of my life. I loved it. I remember my dad saying to me, "If you get good at this game, you travel the world." And as an amateur, I travelled literally all around the world. So if the Olympic Committee feel that the future of the Olympics is better without AIBA involved, then so be it. I will back the Olympic Committee. I guess it's the right thing to do, because the Olympics is the Olympics, the pinnacle of sport, you could say, the pinnacle certainly of amateur boxing. So they're looking out for themselves, aren't they? They're looking after the integrity of the biggest amateur sporting event in the world. So I have to back them. I have to back what they say. Why would they not want to look after their own competition? So be it.
All right, Darren, I'll leave you now to enjoy the rest of your day. Get back to
Yeah, because my boy is playing with a tin of beans. I've no idea what he plans on doing with that. He's threatened to throw it at me a couple of times. So yeah, I better take these tin of beans. I better cook him the tin of beans.
I was going to say he's probably trying to say to hurry up and get off his Zoom call, but I appreciate you jumping on. Obviously, enjoy
My
your
pleasure.
Thank you, mate.